In the group chat we all share with mutual friends, I dropped a picture of me and my new girlfriend, officially announcing it. Within seconds, the chat exploded. Hearts, cheers, gossip, chaos. Everyone had something to say, except Rachel's older brother, who also happened to be my best friend. He didn't send an emoji, not even a word, just a private message with a single question mark. "You blocked Rachel?" he asked. I smiled at the screen, half amused, half bitter. What else could I do? I typed back, "Keep her there just to watch her post about someone else." He didn't reply, just sent a long line of ellipses, that silent judgment that says more than words ever could. And yet, I didn't feel anger, just a quiet relief. 10 years. 10 years of waiting, hoping, chasing shadows. Finally, I could breathe. But peace never comes easy. At midnight, the doorbell rang. I figured it was my takeout. I opened the door and froze. Rachel was standing there, wearing the white dress I'd always loved on her. Her eyes were red, her hands shaking as she held up 2 crumpled concert tickets. "Ezekiel," she said, her voice breaking, "I got the tickets. You promised to go with me. Who is she?" Chapter 1. I looked at her, the tears, the tickets, the trembling, and felt nothing. Not sadness, not regret, just irony. 10 years I'd asked her out. 10 years she said no. Now that I'd finally moved on, she was the one standing at my door asking why I didn't wait. "Keep the tickets," I said quietly. "Or maybe take your brother." Her face went pale, her tears heavy and real. "Ezekiel, what do you mean? We had a deal. That was between you and your ease," I said, voice low and calm. "Not me. My name is Ezekiel, and I'm Fiona's boyfriend." It hit her like a blow. Her knees almost gave out. "No," she whispered, shaking her head. "That's impossible. You said you'd always wait for me." People change. And I did. I closed the door firmly, completely, cutting off her cries, her pounding, her desperate voice. Bang! Silence. Then came the knocking again, hard, frantic. "Ezekiel, open the door. Explain yourself." But I didn't move. I just turned back to the living room, picked up my phone. The screen lit up, a photo of me and Fiona, her smile warm like sunlight. For the first time in years, I smiled too. The heaviness I'd carried, all those years tied to Rachel, finally melted away. A week earlier, I'd met Fiona downstairs at work. I was tired, running on fumes, when she stopped me, coffee in hand, that bright spark in her eyes. "Ezekiel," she said, smiling, "I've been observing you for a while. I think you're great. If you're single, can you give me a chance to chase you?" No games, no hesitation, just honesty. I froze, not from shock, but from clarity. For the first time, someone looked at me with genuine light in their eyes. 10 years with Rachel, and I never once saw that. So I took the coffee, smiled, and said, "Okay." Outside, Rachel's sobs echoed through the door. Inside, I slipped on my noise-canceling headphones. The world went still. My phone buzzed. Fiona again. "Are you asleep? Don't stay up too late. Good night." I smiled. Good night. Peace. Simple, soft peace. As for Rachel, she was the one who taught me how it felt to lose someone by waiting too long. "Wow, how did you know I like this?" Fiona asked, eyes wide with that mix of surprise and delight that makes people look even prettier. "If you pay attention, you notice things," I said, watching her. A soft blush crept across her cheeks. She lowered her head, took a bite of the sandwich, and smiled, that small, genuine kind of smile that makes the world around you feel lighter. And then, like the universe couldn't let me have a quiet morning, Rachel showed up. She walked straight toward us, dressed in a tracksuit, her hair tied in a high ponytail, looking like she'd just finished a run. In her hand, a small bag, milk and bread. My old breakfast routine. "Ezekiel," she said, forcing a smile that didn't reach her tired, swollen eyes. "What a coincidence." I didn't even look up. "Not a coincidence," I said calmly. "I'm waiting for my girlfriend." The word girlfriend hung in the air like a slap. Rachel's smile faltered. Her gaze shifted toward Fiona, a flash of hostility buried under politeness. "So this is your new girlfriend?" she asked, her tone brittle. Fiona, ever gracious, looked up and smiled. "Hi, I'm Fiona." Rachel didn't respond. She just kept her eyes locked on me as she held out the bag. "I brought you breakfast. It's your favorite." I turned slightly, not even glancing at what she was offering. "No thanks," I said. "I've already eaten." Right then, Fiona lifted her sandwich toward me with a teasing grin. "Try mine. It's really good." I took a big bite, then reached for her latte and took a sip, both of us moving in sync, effortlessly close. It wasn't a performance. It was just real. Rachel froze. The bag in her hand hovered awkwardly in midday, too painful to give, too humiliating to take back. Her voice cracked, soft and trembling. "Ezekiel, you used to only drink milk." I wiped the corner of my mouth and smiled faintly. People change. So do their tastes. I turned to Fiona, my tone softening. "Now I only like sweet things." Fiona's smile bloomed like sunlight. She stood, looping her arm through mine. "Come on, we'll be late." I nodded, wrapping an arm around her waist. From start to finish, I didn't look back at Rachel once. "Ezekiel!" Her voice cracked behind me, sharp and raw. "Why are you doing this to me? We had 10 years together. Doesn't that mean anything compared to the few days you've known her?" I stopped, but didn't turn around. "Rachel," I said quietly, "let's get something straight. That wasn't our 10 years. That was my 10 years chasing you. And now, I've stopped." I paused, my tone turning colder. "And one more thing, stop showing up like this. It's pathetic." Without another word, I tightened my arm around Fiona and walked into the building. Behind me, I could feel Rachel's gaze, burning, desperate, like she was trying to scorch the moment into my back. Inside the elevator, Fiona finally let go of my arm. She looked at me, not angry, just concerned. "Are you okay?" I smiled, better than ever. Because for the first time in 10 years, letting go didn't feel like losing. It felt like finally being free. The elevator doors slid shut, sealing away the past. In the reflection, it was just Fiona and me, side by side. And for once, it felt right. That weekend, Fiona and I decided to play basketball at the same court I used to go to, the one Rachel hated. She used to complain about the sun, the sweat, the mess, said sports were undignified. But Fiona, she loved it. The sunlight, the movement, the chaos. She was life in motion. We wore matching sports outfits, chasing each other across the court, laughter echoing between us. I hadn't felt that light in years. During a break, I sat down, catching my breath. Fiona stood beside me, gently dabbing my forehead with towel. Soft, careful, almost reverent. I caught her hand and pulled her close. "Fiona, thank you." She blinked in surprise, then smiled shyly. "What for?" "For showing up." Her cheeks turned pink. "You're so cheesy," she said, giving me a playful shove. And right on cue, Rachel appeared again. Brand new basketball outfit, tags still dangling, holding a basketball like she just happened to pass by. "Ezekiel, Miss Fiona, you're here too?" Her tone was light, fake, rehearsed. Fiona stepped slightly away from my embrace, ever composed. "Yes," she said politely. "What a coincidence." Rachel's eyes darted between us. Our matching outfits, the easy laughter she no longer recognized, and dimmed. She stepped forward, holding out a bottle of water. "Thirsty? Here." And just like that, the past was standing right in front of me again, still trying to catch up to a future that had already moved on. Before I could even open my mouth, Fiona beat me to it. She pulled out a sports drink from her own bag, twisted the cap, and held it out with that mischievous grin of haze. "Drink this. Electrolytes. Didn't you say you were going to crush me on the court today?" I laughed, took the bottle, and drank. The moment felt easy, real. But beside us, Rachel froze, hand still awkwardly suspended midday, the water bottle she'd brought for me forgotten. Her face went from red to pale in seconds. Fiona didn't flinch. She just kept that calm, sunny composure, pulled out a chocolate bar, unwrapped it, and held a piece up toward my lips. "Hey," she said playfully. "More energy." The chocolate melted on my tongue as I mumbled, half teasing, "You have some too." Then, without even thinking, I leaned in and kissed her, sharing that half-melted sweetness between us. A ripple of cheers and whistles erupted from nearby players. Fiona blushed a deep crimson, pushing lightly against my chest, but she didn't pull away. Rachel, she looked like the world had tilted under her feet. Her face went white, her hand trembling as a bottle slipped from her fingers, hitting the court with a sharp thud. Water splashed everywhere, like her pride bursting and scattering across the ground. Her voice trembled as she glared at us. "Ezekiel, do you have to do this? Do you have to humiliate me like this, right in front of me?" I finally let Fiona go and turned to face her. My tone was ice. "Rachel, drop the victim act. First, what I do with my girlfriend is my business. Second, you're the one who followed us here. I didn't invite you." I took a step closer, voice steady, cutting. "And third, who do you think you are that I could even humiliate you?" The words hit hard. She didn't speak. Her eyes shone with tears she refused to let fall. Fiona slipped her arm through mine, her voice soft. "Let's go. I'm hungry. How about that Japanese place you love? That restaurant, the same one I tried to take Rachel to countless times." She'd always refuse, wrinkling her nose, saying she didn't like raw food. But Fiona suggested it herself, naturally, easily. Warmth spread through my chest. I smiled, squeezing her hand. "Sure, whatever you say." I wrapped my arm around her waist, and together we walked off the court, leaving Rachel behind, frozen in place. The sound of a basketball hitting the ground echoed behind us, followed by a soft, broken sob. I didn't look back. Maybe once I would have felt pity, but not anymore. Now, all I felt was disgust at how selfish and blind someone could be. A few days later, Oscar, Rachel's older brother and my oldest friend, organized a get-together. He said it was a welcome party for Fiona and me. I knew better. He wanted to test something. Sure enough, the moment we walked into the private room, there she was, Rachel. She'd gone all out. Lavender dress, perfect hair, light makeup, everything curated to look soft, fragile, tragic, like she was auditioning for sympathy. Fiona, on the other hand, wore a simple white dress, no makeup, no fuss. Yet somehow she glowed. The room brightened around her. Within minutes, she had everyone laughing, talking, at ease. My eyes never left her. Rachel stayed quiet. Her smile was strained, her grip on her glass tightening bit by bit. Her gaze flicked between us, sharp, jealous, bitter. I could feel it building, that storm behind her polite mask. And then she struck. When it came time for toast, Rachel stood, swaying slightly with a glass of red wine in her hand. "Ezekiel, Miss Fiona," she began, her voice trembling like a sad song. "I'd like to make a toast to you too." I frowned, already sensing what was coming. But before I could say a word, she stumbled, and the glass went flying. Wine arced through the air in slow motion, headed straight for Fiona's white dress. Instinct took over. I pulled Fiona behind me. The wine hit my arm and back, burning hot against my skin. My white shirt turned deep red, stained, ruined. "Ah!" Fiona gasped, rushing to check my arm, panic in her voice. The room went silent. No one moved. No one even breathed. Rachel froze, her hand still half raised, her face pale. "I'm sorry," she stammered, tears welling up. "Ezekiel, I didn't mean to. That look, that helpless, pitiful expression, used to undo me, used to make me want to protect her. But now, it only made me sick." "Rachel," I said quietly, my voice like glass, "what the hell do you think you're doing?" Each word sliced through the air. The burn on my skin didn't matter. The only thing that mattered was a woman trembling behind me, and the one still trying to play the victim in front of me. She tugged lightly at my sleeve, and when I turned to her, Fiona had already composed herself. No anger, no embarrassment, just that quiet grace she always carried, like calm after a storm. "It's fine," she said softly. I'll just go clean up a bit. Then she turned and walked away, calm, poised, giving me the space to deal with a mess she knew wasn't Hayes to fix. And right then, the difference between the two women in my life had never been clearer. I took a slow breath, forcing down the rage simmering in my chest, and turned back to Rachel, still crying, still pretending to be the victim. No need to apologize, I said flatly. I grabbed a few napkins from the table, wiped the red stains off my arm, then tossed the crumpled papers at her feet. This is the first time, I said slowly, every word deliberate, and the last. The room went dead silent. You could hear the sound of the air conditioner, the clink of a fork somewhere, but no one spoke. If there's ever a next time, I continued, don't expect me to show mercy, not even for your brother's sake. Oscar's expression twisted. He tried to cut in, voice tense. Ezekiel, Rachel didn't mean, but one look from me, and he stopped mid-sentence. Without another word, I turned and walked out, leaving Rachel standing there, frozen in her seat, surrounded by quiet judgment. Some people pitied her, others looked disgusted. But one thing was clear. After tonight, no one would ever think there was still something between us. Good. Clean break. I found Fiona in the restroom, standing by the mirror, gently dabbing at the faint wine stains on her dress. She didn't even look upset, just focused, peaceful. I walked up behind her and wrapped my arms around her waist. I'm sorry you had to go through that, I murmured. She turned slightly, touching the red patch on my arm with concern. Does it hurt? Should we go to the hospital? It doesn't hurt, I said, taking her hand, as long as you're okay. She looked at me, and then that smile, warm, radiant, alive. Ezekiel, you look so cool just now. I blinked, then laughed. Yeah, I admitted. Guess stepping in to protect the woman I love feels better than I thought. After that dinner, Rachel disappeared for a few days. I thought maybe she'd finally accepted it, finally let go. I was wrong. She was just planning her next move. Fiona and I had set up a movie date at a new private theater, small, cozy, perfect for two. She picked a film, some sweet romantic comedy. Inside, the lights dimmed, the world fell away. The glow of the screen flickered across her face, soft and golden, and I couldn't help myself. I leaned over and kissed her cheek. She turned her head, smiled, and deepened the kiss. It wasn't rushed or hungry. It was warm, steady, natural, like something that was always meant to happen. On screen, the couple kissed under the stars as the credits rolled, the end glowing in soft white letters. When the lights came up, I reached for Fiona's hand and froze. There, standing at the door, was Rachel. Her face was pale, her body trembling, eyes locked on our still intertwined hands. Ezekiel, her voice cracked like glass. How could you do this with her? Her fingers shook as she pointed at us, her voice rising until it broke. I frowned, instinctively pulling Fiona behind me. I'm being affectionate with my girlfriend, I said coolly. What does that have to do with you? I paused, my tone sharpening. Oh, wait, is stalking us your new hobby now? I'm not stalking you, she shouted, voice raw. I just happened to be watching a movie here too. A pathetic lie. And somehow, her outburst, her trembling, her tears, triggered a memory I'd buried deep. A year ago, my birthday, I'd spent days planning a surprise, a cake, a gift, a confession I'd rehearsed 100 times. She told me she'd be at an art gallery that afternoon, so I went there, nervous, excited, ready. But what I saw instead, she wasn't alone. There was another man, tall, well-dressed, brushing a loose strand of hair from her face with a tenderness that gutted me. And Rachel, the girl I'd chased for 10 years, looked up at him with that shy, soft smile I'd never managed to earn. I remember standing there, half hidden behind a marble pillar, clutching the cake so tight it nearly caved in my hands. Each second felt like another inch of ice creeping up my heart. Later, when I finally worked up the nerve to ask, she just smiled, that practiced, dismissive smile, and said, "Oh, that's just a distant cousin. He just got back from abroad." A cousin. Since when did cousins look at each other like that? Since when do cousins give each other limited edition perfume as gifts? That day, I remember staring at my phone, at all those half-written confessions, love notes, and messages I never had the courage to send, and deleting every single one. Just like that, I gave up. Completely. Now, looking at Rachel, hysterical, self-righteous, falling apart, all I could feel was a hollow sort of amusement. What right did she have to accuse me? She was the one who ignored me, the one who blurred every line until I couldn't tell where I stood. And now she had the audacity to act like I was the one who betrayed her? I laughed. Not out of joy. It was a kind of laugh that comes from somewhere tired, somewhere done. Taking Fiona's hand, I brushed past Rachel without even looking back. Rachel, I said evenly, I told you. Stop showing up. Don't make me repeat myself. My voice wasn't loud, but it hit her hard. She stumbled backward, her back hitting the wall, tears spilling down her cheeks. Ezekiel, please, don't go. Just listen. I can explain. But I didn't stop, because explanations are just stories built to keep lies alive, and I was done listening. Outside, the sunlight felt sharp, almost blinding. Fiona's fingers slipped into mine, soft and steady. She didn't ask a thing. She just said, "Let's go home." I nodded. Home. To her. To peace. To a place that finally felt like it belonged to me, not the world I'd chased for 10 long years, only to realize I was never meant to be a part of it. Rachel's world was over. But endings aren't always clean. After that day, Rachel didn't stop. She got worse. Every night my phone buzzed, again and again, like a clock that refused to die. I didn't even need to check to know it was her. I'd hang up, block, hang up again. Then she'd call from a new number, a new phone, sometimes even public booze. It was relentless, like she wouldn't stop until she drove me insane. One night, around 2 a.m, the ringtone sliced through the silence. I groaned, grabbed my phone, ready to shut it off for good. Beside me, Fiona stirred, blinking sleep from her eyes. She glanced at the screen, unmarked number. But we both knew. "It's her, isn't it?" she asked softly. "Yeah." My voice was rough, worn down to the bone. Fiona looked at me for a long moment, the exhaustion in my eyes, the weight I was still carrying. Then, without a word, she held out her hand. "Let me answer it." Her tone was calm, steady, but there was something in it I couldn't argue with. Quiet authority. I hesitated. I didn't want her dragged into this mess. But when I met her eyes, clear, unshaken, I handed her the phone. She hit accept, switched on speaker. Rachel's voice burst through the line, drunk, broken, unraveling. "Ezekiel, you bastard. Why won't you answer me? 10 years. Ezekiel, 10 years. How can you just say you don't want me anymore? Please, come back. I was wrong. I know I was wrong." Her words slurred through sobs and regret. My chest tightened, not with sympathy, but exhaustion. I was so tired of it. But Fiona didn't flinch. She just waited, patient, silent, until Rachel's voice started to waver. Then she spoke. "Miss Rachel," she said, her tone cool and clear. "This is Fiona." Instantly, the other end went dead quiet. I could almost picture Rachel's face, the shock, the disbelief. Fiona continued, calm as ice. 10 years is a long time, she said. But that doesn't make it a chain you can use to bind Ezekiel. You're the one who wasted those years, not him. Second, Ezekiel is my boyfriend now. He's beside me, sleeping peacefully. So please, stop disturbing our lives in the middle of the night. She paused, not out of hesitation, but precision. Third, every adult has to face the consequences of their choices. You chose ambiguity, comfort, and silence. Now you face what that costs. And lastly, if this continues, I'll have no problem pursuing legal action. Before Rachel could respond, Fiona ended the call, and with one quiet tap, blocked the number. Clean, decisive, powerful. I just stared at her for a moment, completely still. Then she turned to me and smiled, soft, warm, reassuring. All done, she said. Go back to sleep. With me here, no one's going to bother you again. She curled up in my arms, finding that perfect space against my chest, and I held her close. The scent of her hair, the rhythm of her breathing. It calmed everything inside me. For the first time in my life, I felt something I'd never really known before. Peace. So this is what it feels like to be protected. I pressed a quiet kiss to her forehead. Fiona, I whispered, I'm so lucky to have you. She murmured sleepily against my chest, half smiling. Go to sleep, dummy. And for once, I did. That night, I slept like a man who'd finally put his ghost to rest. Deep, dreamless, at peace. After that call, Rachel never reached out again. Fiona's words had cut through whatever thread she'd been clinging to. Sometimes, when someone keeps pretending to be asleep, you don't wake them gently. You just rip the blanket off. And Fiona, she was the one who did it. Calm, direct, devastatingly effective. Oscar asked to meet me again, at that same quiet bar we used to haunt in our college days. The place smelled like old whiskey and even older memories. When I walked in, he was already there, shoulders slumped, dark circles under his eyes like bruises. He didn't waste time. The moment I sat down, he poured 2 glasses and pushed one toward me. Ezekiel, I'm sorry, he said, his voice rough. Rachel's not doing well lately. I came to apologize. For her, to you, and Fiona. I stopped him right there. You don't have to apologize for her, I said, voice steady. You're my brother. But she's nothing to me now. He tried to smile, but it faltered halfway. He refilled his glass, staring into it like maybe the right words were floating somewhere in the amber. I know she wronged you, he murmured. But you know what she's like, right? Always so insecure. Mom and Dad fought all the time when we were kids. She grew up terrified of love falling apart. She was scared that if things between you two didn't work out, she'd lose your friendship too. That's why so that gives her the right to take everything I gave her for granted. I cut in, sharper than I meant to treat me like a backup plan while she flirted with other men. A bitter laugh slipped out before I could stop it. Come on, Oscar, we've both heard this story before. She wasn't afraid. I said, the words cold, final. She just didn't care enough. He winced, but I didn't stop. You've known me for years, I continued. Do I look like the kind of guy who gives up easily when I love someone? He didn't answer, because he knew the truth. I've always loved like it's a vow. No games, no second chances. She didn't not know how to love, I said. She just got used to being loved. By me, got used to me waiting exactly where she left me, so she could wander, explore, test her options, knowing I'd still be there when she turned around. Oscar's jaw clenched, his face growing darker with every word. But I wasn't finished. Remember back in college? I said, that basketball captain who chased her for months? She strung him along, then cried when he finally moved on. Or that client at her office, the one who adored her? She took his gifts, soaked up the attention, and still called him annoying behind his back. And when he stopped trying, she moped for days, wondering why he didn't stay. I looked him straight in the eye. Your sister doesn't misunderstand love, Oscar. She understands it too well. She loves the control, the attention, the power, the way people orbit around her like she's the sun. I finished my drink in one slow motion. But this time, she lost control. Oscar's face went red. Shame, anger, helplessness, all tangled together. But he couldn't say a word, because deep down, he knew I was right. I set the glass down gently and stood. You should have told me this 10 years ago, I said quietly. Told me to stop chasing her. Or told her to stop playing games before it was too late. I looked down at him, the brother I'd shared so many years with, and said, now you're here trying to make me pity her, when I finally moved on. It's too late, Oscar. Then, after a beat, I softened. I clapped his shoulder. But you'll always be my brother. So when I get married, you'd better be there, as my best man. He froze. Married, he repeated, stunned. Yeah. A real smile spread across my face, the kind that comes from certainty, not hope. I'm going to propose to Fiona. He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. Eventually, he just lowered his head, defeated. I didn't wait for him to find the words. I walked out into the cool night air, the kind that clears your head and quiets your heart. And I knew exactly where I was going. To the jewelry store, to pick up the ring that had been waiting for her. The past had already stolen 10 years of my life. The future was finally mine, and I wasn't about to waste another second of it. Fiona and I were home that weekend, sprawled across the living room floor, planning our first trip together. Switzerland, snow-capped Alps, crystal lakes, the kind of scenery that feels like a dream. She was lying on her stomach, a pen in her hand, circling places on the map with a childlike spark in her eyes. And for the first time in a long while, I realized how good it felt to build plans that actually had a future. We were supposed to go to Jungfrau next, and after that, Lake Lucerne. Fiona's eyes lit up when she said it, the way they always did when she talked about travel. It's supposed to be gorgeous, she said. I laughed softly, running a hand through her hair. Whatever you say. The air in the house felt warm, peaceful, that quiet kind of happiness that doesn't need words. Then my phone rang. Oscar. I frowned, a flicker of unease in my chest. I didn't want to answer, but it kept ringing again and again. Fiona glanced up, concern in her eyes. Pick it up, she whispered. Maybe it's important. I sighed and answered. What came next hit like a punch. Oscar's voice, raw, desperate, cracking apart at the seams. Ezekiel, you have to come. Central Hospital. Now. My stomach tightened. What happened? It's Rachel, he choked out. She's dying, Ezekiel. She drank herself half to death. Stomach rupture, massive bleeding. She's in critical condition. The doctors say she's not fighting anymore. She keeps calling your name. Please, please just come. Give her a reason to hold on. For a moment, the world went still. 10 years of history, of love, pain, everything, came flooding back all at once. My heart clenched before my mind could stop it. Without realizing it, I was already standing. Fiona, who had heard everything, had gone pale. But she reached for my hand, warm, steady, grounding. Her touch pulled me back. I drew a slow breath and spoke into the phone, my voice colder than I intended. Am I a doctor, Oscar? If I show up, will that save her? Get her the best care you can. If you can't afford it, I'll cover it. But I'm not coming. There was a sharp silence on the other end. Then Oscar exploded. Are you even human? Ezekiel? She's dying, and you're just going to leave her? I let out a bitter laugh. My heart died a long time ago, Oscar. The day your sister crushed it and walked away. The one I have now belongs to Fiona, and I won't use it to warm someone who already turned her back on me. I hung up. The silence that followed was heavy. Fiona rose quietly and wrapped her arms around me from behind. You did the right thing, she murmured. Her voice trembled slightly, but her conviction didn't. This isn't your fault. I held her hand, but the weight in my chest didn't lift. No matter what I told myself, Rachel was still someone I'd once loved, a life hanging by a thread. Pretending I didn't care would be a lie. Inside, everything warred, guilt against reason, memory against love. If I went, I betrayed Fiona's trust. But if I didn't, could I live with that? Fiona must have seen it in my eyes. She stepped in front of me, cupped my face, and made me meet her gaze. Ezekiel, she said softly, what you're feeling right now, it's sympathy, not love. Your kind. That's all this is. Your real love, that's mine. Go if you need to. Whatever you decide, I'll trust you. No jealousy, no fear, just faith, quiet, unshakable faith. And somehow that faith burned through all my doubt. I pulled her close, holding her like she was my anchor. How lucky I was to have found someone who didn't cage me with emotion, but freed me with trust. And in that moment, I knew I couldn't betray that. Not for anyone. But in the end, I still went to the hospital, with Fiona by my side. Not because I'd changed my mind. Not because Oscar begged. But because before we left, Fiona looked at me and said, Go. Say goodbye. Not to her, but to your past. If you don't end it completely, it'll stay inside you like a splinter. And someday, that splinter will come between us. No guilt, no pressure, just understanding, pure and complete. She was right. I needed to end it once and for all. When I finally arrived, Rachel wasn't dying anymore. She pulled through, out of the emergency room and into a quiet hospital ward. Oscar was sitting outside the hospital room, his eyes red and hollow, the way greed hollows a man from the inside out. When he saw me, a flicker of hope sparked, and then dimmed the moment he noticed Fiona standing beside me. "She just fell asleep," he murmured, his voice rough, worn thin. I nodded, turned to Fiona. "Wait for me here." She gave me a soft smile, calm, understanding, and sat down on the bench in the hallway. Inside, the air was thick with a sharp sting of disinfectant. Machines hummed quietly. Rachel lay there, pale as paper, and foreline dripping slow and steady into her arm. She looked so small, so fragile it almost didn't seem real. The door creaked, and her eyes fluttered open. When she saw me, light burst through the dull haze in them. Tears followed. "Ezekiel, you came." Her voice trembled, thin, broken. "I knew you still cared." I stepped closer, stopping beside her bed. My face stayed calm, unreadable. "You're mistaken," I said quietly. "I came to tell you this will be the last time we see each other." The hope in her eyes shattered instantly. Panic filled the cracks. "No, don't say that." She tried to sit up, but the effort toward her stitches. Pain twisted across her face. "Ezekiel, please listen to me. The man at the art gallery, he wasn't what you think." Her words tumbled out in a rush, trembling with desperation. "He's my cousin. I swear. He studies psychology. I asked him to help me, to test you, to test myself. I didn't mean for it to go that far. I didn't think you'd misunderstand, or that you'd just give up so easily." Her tears soaked the pillow as she spilled out her version of the truth, a truth so absurd it almost sounded like a bad joke. To test love by breaking it, to prove devotion by causing pain. What could be more selfish, more foolish? "Ezekiel, I was wrong," she sobbed. "I love you. I've always loved you. I was just too scared to admit it." Her hand reached for mine, trembling, pleading, trying to hold on to something already gone. "Please, forgive me. Let's start over. Let's go back to how it used to be." Her voice cracked, her face twisted in regret so deep it almost hurt to look at her. And for one fleeting second, I felt it, the ache of old memories, the echo of 10 years I'd spent chasing a shadow. For a heartbeat, I almost forgot the pain. Almost. Then, clarity hit. Sharp, certain. In my mind, I saw Fiona, her smile, her honesty, her faith that never wavered. I remembered how she looked at me, not with possession, but with trust. How she stood beside me when no one else did. That was love. Not this. I gently pulled my hand away from Rachel's. "Rachel," I said softly, "it's too late." She froze. Her lips parted, but no words came out. When I kept walking toward you with hope, I continued, and you kept turning away. It became too late. When I stood in the cold for 2 hours on my birthday, holding a cake you never saw because you were laughing with your cousin, it became too late. And when you only realized you wanted me after I found someone else, it was already over. Her face drained of all color. "People have to pay for their fear and their selfishness," I said quietly. "And your price was me." I turned and walked out. Behind me, her sobs filled the silence, raw, broken, echoing down the hall. But I didn't look back. At the end of the corridor, Fiona was waiting, standing in that cold hospital draft, her hands wrapped around a cup of milk tea. When she saw me, she ran up and pressed it into my hands. It was still warm. She must have been holding it the whole time. And just like that, all the tension in me, the guilt, the heaviness, melted away. I looked down at her, at the woman who stayed not out of need, but out of choice, out of faith. And I knew, without a doubt, I'd made the right choice. That night, I didn't take Fiona home. Instead, I drove us to the hilltop where we'd had our first date. The city sprawled beneath us, countless lights shimmering like fallen stars. The wind was cold, the kind that cuts through your jacket, but Fiona was warm against my shoulder, wrapped in my coat. And for the first time in years, I felt completely free. She didn't ask what happened at the hospital, but I told her anyway. Every word Rachel said, every flicker of emotion I felt, even that brief moment of hesitation I wasn't proud of, because Fiona deserved the truth, all of it. She listened quietly, eyes soft but steady. When I finally ran out of words, she turned to me with a calm warmth that melted to the cold edges of my guilt. "It's normal to hesitate," she said gently. She was someone you loved for 10 years. If you'd felt nothing at all, that wouldn't make you strong, Ezekiel. It would make you heartless. But in the end, you chose me, didn't you? Then she smiled. That radiant, unguarded smile that could make the world stop spinning for a second. "Ezekiel," she whispered, "I trust you." 4 simple words, but they pierced deeper than any confession of love ever could. Because trust, real trust, is rarer, purer. And in that moment, I finally understood the difference between them. Rachel's love had always been born from fear. Fear of losing, fear of being hurt, fear of surrendering control. But Fiona's love, it was freedom. It was faith without demand, giving without asking, staying without chains. And standing there under the quiet night sky, I knew exactly what I wanted for the rest of my life. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the small velvet box that had been waiting there for weeks. Fiona froze, her eyes widening, hands flying to her mouth as tears welled instantly in her lashes. "Fiona," I said, my voice trembling just enough to betray the moment, "I don't want to live in the past anymore. My future, I only want it with you. I'm not perfect. I carry 10 years of scars and mistakes. But if you'll let me, I'll spend the rest of my life learning how to love you right, how to make you the happiest woman in the world." I took a breath, my heart pounding. "Will you marry me?" I opened the box. The ring wasn't extravagant, just a simple, elegant diamond that caught the starlight like it was meant for her. Fiona's tears finally fell. She nodded over and over, shoulders shaking as her voice broke into a whisper. "I will," she said, choking on emotion. "I will." I stood, slid the ring onto her trembling finger, and pulled her into my arms. We kissed under the stars, the city lights burning below like 1,000 tiny witnesses. And for the first time, I felt it. Peace. The kind that comes when you finally bury your ghosts and walk into the light. Rachel had become just that, a shadow buried in the past. And my future now, it was warm, alive, and wrapped in my arms. It was Fiona. On the drive back down the mountain, I took a photo of Fiona's hand, the ring catching the glow of the dashboard light, and sent it to Oscar. "Get your red envelope and best man suit ready." A few minutes later, he replied with a single, complicated emoji. Then another message. "Got it. I'll tell her." I stared at the screen for a long moment, then turned it off. Everything that needed to end had ended. Everything that mattered was just beginning. Later, Oscar told me what happened, not all at once, but in pieces, through the haze of a drunken night. That day, he walked into Rachel's room with my message still open on his phone. She was sitting up, pale and quiet, when he handed it to her. She looked down at the picture, Fiona's hand, the ring, the caption, and for a moment, something flickered in her eyes. Then it faded. The light drained from them slowly, leaving behind only stillness. She didn't cry, didn't scream, didn't beg. She just sat there for a long time, staring at the screen, until finally she opened our old chat, the one she'd pinned for 10 years, the one where she'd never once sent the first message. Oscar said her hand hovered over the delete contact button for what felt like forever. And then she pressed it. After a long pause, she looked up at him and said softly, "Brother, help me with the discharge papers. I want to go home." It was the first time she'd ever chosen to let go, and the first time she didn't use tears or guilt or love as a weapon. Oscar didn't know whether she felt despair or peace, but maybe, for once, it didn't matter, because letting go, even when it hurts, is its own kind of freedom. But none of it mattered anymore. When Oscar's message came through, I was standing beside Fiona in the bridal shop. She stepped out from the fitting room wearing a white gown, radiant, breathtaking, like an angel carved out of light. And just like that, the last traces of guilt, the weight I carried because of Rachel, melted away. The past wasn't mine anymore. I turned off my phone, walked toward Fiona, and slipped my arms around her from behind. My chin rested gently on her shoulder as I whispered, "You're beautiful." She blushed, meeting my eyes in the mirror. "You like it?" she asked softly. I smiled. "I love it." Then I kissed her cheek, my bride, the most beautiful woman in the world. A month later, on a golden autumn afternoon, we stood beneath the sunlight, ready to begin again. Oscar arrived early, dressed sharp as ever, my best man. As he fixed my tie, he sighed, "You're one ruthless bastard. You know that." I looked at my reflection and smiled faintly. "Not ruthless," I said, "just responsible to myself and to her." Rachel didn't come, but she sent a gift, beautifully wrapped, with a red envelope, through Oscar. I didn't open it. I handed it to the planner and said, "Please donate this to charity." There was nothing left to look back on. When it came time for the vows, I looked into Fiona's tearful eyes and finally spoke the words that had lived in my heart for years. "Thank you, Fiona, for walking toward me when I thought I'd be lost in the dark forever. You taught me that love isn't about chasing or waiting in silence. It's about meeting halfway and holding on with your heart. I love you, and for the rest of my life, I'll prove it." Fiona couldn't stop crying. We exchanged rings, kissed, and the room burst into applause, laughter, light, and warmth all around us. My friend smiled, genuinely happy, and behind me, Oscar's eyes shimmered. In that moment, I knew I had chosen right. That day wasn't just the start of my marriage. It was a funeral for 10 wasted years, and the birth of everything I'd ever dreamed of. A year later, life with Fiona had settled into something gentle, peaceful. Our home was warm and full of little pieces of her, the floral scent on the cushions, her sketches on the wall, her laughter echoing down the hall. She had a small desk beside mine in the study, and on weekends, we'd shop for groceries, argue about movie endings, and fall asleep tangled up on the couch. Ordinary moments, but they meant everything. Then one day, Fiona found out she was pregnant. I completely lost it, laughing, crying, spinning her around the living room like a man who just won the universe. From that moment, I became a full-time dad in training, studying baby books, testing recipes, obsessing over vitamins and crib safety. Fiona teased me for being the most nervous father alive. One lazy afternoon, while I was fighting a losing battle with a chicken recipe, she leaned against the doorway, scrolling on her phone. "Hey," she said, "look at this." It was Oscar's post. 9 photos, all of Rachel, or at least of her back. She was somewhere in Tibet, standing before the sky, the sea, the snow-capped mountains. No white dresses, no polished smiles. Just hiking gear, boots, a backpack, wind in her hair. Even from behind, I could tell. She looked free, peaceful. Oscar's caption was simple: "May you travel the world and find it worth living in." I stared at it for a moment, then quietly tapped like. That was it. No sadness, no ache, just a small, sincere wish that she'd finally found her peace. Fiona came up behind me, her arm sliding around my waist, her chin resting on my shoulder. "What are you looking at?" she asked. I turned off the screen, faced her, and kissed her forehead, then the soft curve of her belly. "Nothing," I said with a smile. "Just our future." She laughed, her hand resting over her stomach. "Our future's right here." Sunlight poured through the window, warm and golden, wrapping around us. I looked at her, my home, my peace, my light, and felt the faint heartbeat beneath my palm. And in that moment, I knew the shadow I'd chased for 10 long years had finally disappeared. What remained was real, warm, alive. The past was smoke, and the woman before me, she was everything. My ending had finally found its beginning.